It was love at first sight. When actress Katharine Hepburn was first introduced to actor Spencer Tracy on the set of the 1942 film Woman of the Year, she couldn't help but almost instantaneously fall madly in love with him. Still, the celebrated actress did her best to act as nonchalant about the encounter as possible. Although Hepburn was head over heels for Tracy, he was still married at the time to actress Louise Treadwell. After Tracy and his wife began having issues following the birth of their 2 children, Spencer separated from her in 1933 and left the family home, never to return. After being introduced, Hepburn and Tracy quickly started seeing each other, enjoyed a hot and heavy, albeit very secretive romance for years, and ultimately spent the remainder of their days as close friends. Stay tuned as Factsverse presents why Spencer Tracy hid his affair with Katharine Hepburn for decades. Their fans had no clue. Although they're now considered to be one of the most famous couples in Hollywood history, Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn played out their affair without fans knowing they were together for decades. The 2 stars ended up having a relationship that lasted for 27 years, but the truth is their connection wasn't revealed until decades later. Obviously, this had to do, at least in part, with Spencer's marriage to Louise Treadwell. As for why he never divorced her, despite the fact he had clearly moved on to a new, serious relationship, there are several factors. Spencer married Louise in 1928. They had 2 children together, a son named John Tracy and a daughter named Susie Tracy. In the early 30s, they separated. They did briefly reconcile and get back together, but separated once again not long after. Eventually, the 2 Hollywood stars lived in separate homes while still remaining legally married. During this time period, Spencer had affairs with a handful of other women before meeting Hepburn. One of the reasons why Spencer never divorced Louise was because, as a devout Catholic, he considered divorce off the table. His religious convictions wouldn't permit him to take such action, though apparently adultery wasn't something he considered to be too sinful. Louise was Episcopalian. Reportedly, she did request a divorce at one point, but was never granted one and never felt the pressing need to pursue one through the courts. Another issue tied to Spencer's faith had to do with his idea that he got in his head that he was somehow being punished for his sins when it turned out his son was deaf. According to director Joe Mankiewicz, Spencer didn't just leave Louise, he also left the scene out of sheer guilt. Hepburn didn't seem to mind. Although everyone they worked with and all their friends knew they were together, there was still concern within the Hollywood studio system that negative publicity surrounding Spencer and Katharine's affair could potentially impact their films and box office revenue. On top of that, Spencer, Hepburn, and even Louise seemed to have found a degree of acceptance in their situation. Hepburn reportedly also had little desire to marry Tracy, even though she loved him deeply. She had previously married Ludlow Ogden Smith in 1928 at age 21. That marriage ended up fizzling, and the 2 were divorced in 1934. They remained close until Spencer's death. Spencer and Hepburn's relationship had many twists and turns, but they continued to be close until Tracy's death in 1967. Throughout their time together, they co-starred in 9 films, including Pat and Mike, Adam's Rib, and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. In Hollywood, their relationship was an open secret. Gene Kelly once told people the duo would meet at lunchtime and sit on a bench on the studio lot. They'd hold hands, talk, and laugh, while everyone else would leave them alone in their little bubble. Hepburn ended up passing away in 2003. She remained quiet about her relationship with Spencer until 1983, when Louise Treadwell passed away. In Hepburn's 1991 memoir, Me, Stories of My Life, she wrote that she truly loved Tracy and she always put his interests and demands above her own. Whenever he would express his dislike of something, she would make the needed changes to appease him. According to her, it didn't even matter if these changes meant her setting aside things she personally valued. She loved him so much, there wasn't anything she wouldn't do. Years later, Katie Couric brought this passage from Hepburn's book up in an interview. Couric said she found this bit especially surprising, considering how it came from someone as notoriously independent as Hepburn. Hepburn responded by saying it was always her pleasure to make such concessions. She went on to add she found him to be a witty, amusing, entertaining man who also had a rather difficult nature. Hepburn revealed that despite this, it was always easy to please Tracy because of how much she loved him. Hepburn described Tracy as having a tortured soul. It's known that Tracy suffered from regular bouts of severe anxiety, depression, and insomnia. To cope with these things, he turned to the bottle. As such, he struggled with alcoholism for much of his life. Hepburn once described him as having a tortured soul. She wanted to see him safe, happy, and comfortable, and there wasn't really anything she wouldn't do to put a smile on his face. She'd wait on him hand and foot, listen to his troubles, cook for and feed him, and even work for him. Most of all, she tried her best not to disturb him when he was dealing with his troubles. She continued to act, choosing roles based on how much they interested her rather than how she thought they'd fare at the box office. Acting on location regularly required Hepburn to leave for months on end. Because of this, she tried to encourage the idea that she and Tracy weren't a couple and that they should continue to live separate lives. When Tracy's health began to decline in the late 60s, however, she ended up taking some time away from her acting career to care for him. She later was quoted as saying she just wanted to make sure he wouldn't be lonely or full of worry. Hepburn and Tracy's sexual orientations. Over the years, rumors surrounding Hepburn and Tracy's sexual orientations have continued to fuel sensational media reports. Hepburn was considered to be a very independent woman who didn't appear to require anything from men. Because of this, she was often labeled as a lesbian. Likewise, it's been repeatedly alleged that Tracy was a homosexual and that his efforts to hide his orientation further contributed to his depression and issues with alcohol. According to a man named Scotty Bowers, who was a male madam to the stars during the golden age of Hollywood, Hepburn and Tracy were never more than friends. Bowers further asserts they were not in the bed department at all. Furthermore, Bowers claims he even slept with Tracy once and procured a number of female sexual partners for Hepburn. Whether their relationship was in fact a cover to hide their orientations or not, there's no questioning the fact that what Hepburn and Tracy had was one of the most devoted and loving relationships in Hollywood history. Scotty Bowers may have made some bold claims, but at the end of the day, the fact remains that Hepburn and Tracy continued to love and care for each other for the better part of 3 decades. Hepburn was by Tracy's side when he passed away in 1967, and although she didn't attend his funeral out of respect for his family, she never stopped loving him after his death. When asked why she stayed with him given the circumstances, Hepburn once replied saying she honestly didn't know. But even so, she said the 27 years they spent together were, quote, absolute bliss. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think Spencer Tracy should have divorced his wife and married Katharine Hepburn? Let us know in the comments section below.